Hello, my name is Christoph Luetge. I'm a professor of business ethics and director of the Institute for Ethics in Artificial Intelligence here at the Technical University of Munich. And today I will be talking about ethical aspects in the era of enterprise intelligence. So let me first say a few things about myself. I have a background both in computer science as well as philosophy. And I have been a professor here in Munich for roughly 20 years, for roughly 10 years now. I have been working on ethics in AI in many settings, not just in the academic world, but also in contexts with politics, with organizations, as well as companies. For example, I have been a member of the first ethics committee for autonomous driving a couple of years ago. And I like to say, this is one of my favorite quotes that I frequently use about AI and ethics: AI will not fly without ethics. What that means, we will explore today. I will talk about some of the opportunities that AI offers, and I'm not talking just about economic opportunities, but ethical opportunities as well. I will argue that we need a balanced perspective in order to do work on ethics in enterprise intelligence together with researchers in academia as well as companies. And I will talk about what it means to be ethical by design. So first about the opportunities. Certainly, it has become clear in the last for maybe 1 or 2 years that AI will change a lot of things. It will also change the work for employees. Whether it comes to areas like financial services, whether it comes to monitoring performance, whether it comes to digital HR in a larger sense, ultimately also helping hiring employees, but also totally different areas like telemedicine, autonomous driving. AI will play a large role. And in terms of ethics, which I will be talking about today, there are also ethical opportunities in here as well. Often we tend to overstate the ethical risks, which are certainly there, but we should also not forget about opportunities. Just take, for example, the issue of care robots in a society that is rapidly aging and where there's a shortage of qualified care personnel. Care robots can help elderly people be more active and give them more dignity, even if they can perform certain tasks instead of having a human being do the same. So that human beings can concentrate more on other issues and be more like a companion or a partner to talk to. In terms of HR, for example, there are certainly risks, but there are also opportunities. For example, in the sense that AI systems that screen CVs, for example, or that do other things in the recruitment process can at least try to be more objective than human beings, which are certainly also full of certain biases towards people to be recruited. That is something that an AI system does not have. Of course, we will also make sure that these systems have the right guidelines to follow. But that in a minute. But just to mention one more era of AI, and that's the autonomous driving. And autonomous driving, we are also here in this issue talking about many risks that autonomous cars might pose. But on the other hand, we should not forget that they might be able to avoid many accidents, save lives, and generally improve mobility, also for elderly people, handicapped people, and so on. So that is something that we see in a lot of AI technologies, enterprise intelligence eras. However, in order to achieve that, as I said, we need more ethics, as I believe. What is the problem of AI, at least in the eyes of many? When it comes to AI embedded in business processes, one of the key aspects is that it is a kind of black box. So different from other technological waves that we have seen, the black box character of many AI systems means that we cannot always explain, even the expert cannot always know, maybe explain, but even that is difficult, what the system is doing at this very instant. And that creates for many people sort of insecurity, also mistrust maybe, and skepticism towards these systems. Might they be biased? Might they infringe on your data privacy? Would they survey you? And many other risks that people perceive. We certainly have also still limited knowledge of AI systems and also of the AI aspects. One of them that we have been working on a lot in the past years is the issue of privacy and of data security, but there are others as well. To be more specific, we have seen in the past 1 or 2 years a number of high-level abstract principles for AI ethics and enterprise intelligence come up. However, and they are good, it's good to have them. However, now we need to get to a more detailed level. The question is, what does this sort of high-level ethics mean for concrete systems in terms of AI and enterprise intelligence? We need more concrete guidance for the people who are actually developing these systems, the researchers, the programmers, engineers, and of course the managers. And there we will need to work in collaboration in order to bring ethics, the ethical perspective, into the development process, because as it's my firm conviction, otherwise we will not be able to implement those systems to actually convince people to use these systems. There we will need some guidelines, there we will need ethics. Here at my institute, which was launched last October, we are doing exactly that. We have set up a number of research groups. We are in total now about 40 researchers working here. And in all our research groups, we are working in close collaboration between the people from the technical side, between the engineers, computer scientists, and others, and people with a background in social sciences, humanities on the other hand. And only in this form of close collaboration can we develop the necessary tools in order for these systems to gain the necessary trust. And we are also working as a platform together with partners in industry and civil society. These are some of our partners. And we are currently, which is quite unusual, we are working in a very interdisciplinary approach. This is just what I mentioned. So we have at the moment a total of 11 schools here at TUM that we are working with. So AI ethics, as you see, is a topic that really is something across the boundaries of disciplines, and it becomes even harder to say what areas are not touched by this. So just to mention a few of the projects that we are currently working with, we are working on AI in Earth observation, and there are ethical aspects to that as well. For example, when it comes to how secure are your data, what kind of privacy is respected, and similar issues. We are working on autonomous driving ethics. We're working on AI-enabled recommender systems and their ethical aspects. We also have new projects in the area of responsible AI in the use against pandemics. the famous Corona apps. This is just one aspect, but we have many others, as well as trust in the machine learning and others. The fundamental aim is to see how can these systems be made more trustworthy. And one key aspect of that is to be ethical by design. So when in former times, when it came to ethics, you could say, well, we need to deliberate about this. Some people need to sit together and deliberate. Well, this is not enough here. We have systems which sometimes make autonomous decisions or in many times prepare human decisions before. We need to build the ethical aspects into the code. And that's something that is certainly doable. Just to, of course, shortage of time, we can mention a few things. For example, how to select your training data in order to train your algorithms. That's something where you need to be very careful not to build new biases into the data and ultimately into the algorithm. People need to be more sensitive. The question is also where to have the responsibility and the accountability, because that is something that, of course, needs to shift. As you know, with autonomous cars, for example, so far the human driver is responsible for an accident, but what if the car was going in autonomous mode? Then we need to shift that responsibility towards the companies. So we will need to see much more product accountability and product liability here. This is also something that not the individual programmer can take on as a burden, but that is something for companies. We also need to design the right interfaces, of course, between humans and technology. We need to update our regulatory frameworks, although this is certainly something where we will need to see more research on many aspects. For the moment, we have done a lot already in terms of ethical frameworks for these systems, as with the high-level expert group on the European level or the AI for People. These frameworks are doing a very important job in order to create a framework to make these AI systems more trustworthy so that they will actually be adopted and used. In this context, this is something where I would like to invite all those who are interested. We hold the first Responsible AI Forum here in Munich not just as an academic conference, but as a platform for many actors in industry, civil society, politics, in order to discuss these aspects in the broad sense and in detail. So hope to see many of you there. So what do we need for an ethical AI? And it's interesting to see that we have not been around for a very long time. So AI ethics as a field is very, very young in comparison to other ethical approaches that we have seen in bioethics or medical ethics. However, here it has already had a very steep career, I would say. And it becomes clearer what we need. As I said before, and I would like to put this as a key focus here, we need trust. If people do not trust systems, they won't use it. It's very simple. And this is about internal trust as well as external trust. So, of course, the employees that are faced with AI systems in the HR process or in many others will need to trust, as well as, of course, your customers and other external stakeholders. We should also rethink the human-machine collaboration aspect, since many of the fears that are out there are about AI replacing humans and AI becoming something like the Terminator or others, which is not a very relevant perspective on the topic. Rather, we should see this for the time being and for a long time being as a collaboration between humans and machines, and there will, at least in many contexts, be humans in the loop for a long time. However, still we need to be very careful to see where should these be in the loop and where can the AI or the enterprise intelligence do a better job. Then it's important to have an exchange between industry and research in these aspects, since, as I believe, we cannot do ethics as an in-house job, as a company in-house job. It does not have the same credibility. But you need to be working together with external actors, with external research institutions, in order to be more credible and to be more trustworthy in this regard. Then we will need to see guidelines, which we have, as I said, on the abstract level, guidelines for ethical AI. We need to get this down to the more concrete level and see what guidelines will concrete systems of enterprise intelligence or AI need in order to become more trustworthy. And this can only be done in a collaboration between people with the technical skills and people with the non-technical skills. So AI ethics is not something that you put on the wall as a company philosophy and then forget about it. No, it's something that will have to be implemented on the level of development teams. We will need to work on tools for companies to follow these frameworks and establish trust. And more than trust, it will also be about meeting societal acceptance. We have problems that are often debated in public, like the problem of facial recognition. Where should it be used? Where do we want it to be used? And we also might, from a cultural perspective, have different answers to these questions. But still, that is something that companies, especially those companies who are working globally and who are also faced with ethical issues globally, will need to come to terms with. The issue of trust in AI is the key focus. And I would all encourage you to work on ethics in AI in order to be productive and successful in the long run. I think it's important to recognize that this will not be possible without ethics. Thank you very much.